All right. Well, whether you are taking a break from the World Cup or coming in out of the, I guess heat will be what we're having later on today, you're welcome. If you just happen to wander in, you're welcome. And for those of you online, if you're here intentionally, great. If you just happen to find us, that's also good, because I believe that we are all here by divine appointment, whether we knew it or not, whether we intended it or not. So thank you for keeping your appointment. This morning, we have Amy McLean back with us. Amy, of the most amazing spelling of a last name. And she is a social storyteller using the medicine of songs as a soundtrack for transformation. So she explores what it really takes to heal from trauma, to grow in awareness, and to bring in more resilience and sovereignty and love into our lives. Please welcome Amy McLean and stand up to join us this morning as we prepare to sing I Release.
Yes. Raise your hand if you know Ricky Byers. Does anybody like Ricky Byers music? Yeah. So this is a Ricky Byers tune that I first heard in LA like 100 years ago. So if you know it, sing along really loud. Otherwise, we're going to repeat it a couple times. So it starts with I release
and I let go.
I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. I am only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. I am only here for God. You ready to do it one more time? I release, I let go, I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. I am only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit, and I'm only here for God. I am free in the Spirit. I am only here for God.
We have known Ricky for a long time and sung that song many, many times. So now I'm going to invite you to go ahead and silence your cell phones. So, they'll maybe startle you if they vibrate, but the rest of us won't also be startled. So that'll be very nice. And prepare to just turn within. Now that we've had a chance to sing together and say hello, this is our time to center, but also to center in community. So our prayer practitioner, Leslie Giannetti, is going to come up now and pray us in.
Let's turn within together as I bring my full attention to the divine tranquility in which everything is immersed, in which everything is included, the one infinite life, the peace that passes all understanding, which pervades the universe and encompasses everything in its light of illumination. It is forever moving upon itself and creating out of itself. It is forever reflecting itself through everything and recreating everything in a moment, healing everything in an instant. The divine order of the universe pervades everything visible and invisible. I know that I'm a part of it, and that each one is a unique, individualized expression of the divine tranquility of the universe. The still small voice always whispering, I am only here for God. I speak my word now, and I claim an opening in consciousness for a deep, resonant realization that the life within is good. It is the universe expressing that each one belongs to the universe, and the universe belongs to each one. There is no separation. And in this absolute divine truth, this divine order, each one is divinely guided for the greatest and deepest self-expression, beyond words, beyond understanding, in complete alignment of spirit, soul, and body temple. This is the divine inheritance of each one, and I claim this realization for each one. And in today's talk, Reverend Mary's words are spirit made manifest. They flow through each one and around, and they guide each one to settle into the perfect divine harmony of truth. It is the truth that sets each one free. So I give thanksgiving for the opening that takes place in consciousness and allows each one to know the truth of being. And I release my word to the law of mind, which embraces my word into itself, bringing it into form for the greater good. And so it is.
Leslie.
Beyond the rushing of the waters and the constraints of time, beyond the press of your attention lies the blurring of the lines, where we can see with our eyes closed, and we can hear the voice inside, and the threads of our awakening are woven in with light to the unknown, the untraceable, where the untamed winds are blowing us here, there, and everywhere again. So when you're lost in your confusion and you don't know what to do, there's a rippling inside you telling you the truth that you can see with your eyes closed, and you can hear the other side. And beyond all your dimensions, there's a rippling to find in the unknown, the untraceable, where the wilding winds are blowing us here, there, and everywhere again. When we open to grace and we step out on the road, and we let go of all we think we know, and we're humble enough to lean on love, that's when the unknown, the untraceable, the wild warm winds can carry us here, there, and everywhere again. Oh, here, there, and on again.
Thank you, Amy. We've been looking at connections this year, sacred connections, and I suppose really all connections are sacred, so I could choose anything at all. But this month we've been talking about connecting with actual, true freedom. Last week, of course, I had kind of a built-in thing because it was the weekend of July 4th. So freedom is an easy topic to focus on. But I think that freedom is an important topic in the science of mind. Bless you. Our freedom of choice, our freedom to make decisions. And we have this wonderful brain that allows us to develop patterns and habits and learning so that we don't have to use so much of our thinking process every single time we do something, because it's already been built into the system so that it starts to happen automatically. That can be a really great thing, but it also has a downside to it. And so today, I'm asking the question, what does it mean to be well-informed? And does it require that we get to this extent in our experience in order to be well-informed? Or is there another version of being well-informed that has to do with our family and our friends and our connections and our relationships and our inner truth? And maybe that is where we're being poorly informed right now, and we're being over-informed in another direction. Now, to be fair, I think it's important for us to recognize that over the years that we have developed our understanding of human psychology, that very naturally has become part of what people do in order to market stuff to us, in order to provide us with information or products or services that are supposed to help something in our lives. So there's a formula for that. And when I was going to a lot of business seminars, I learned about the formula or the story, the way you present the story in order to get people to respond to whatever it is that you're wanting to sell. So first, you say a little bit about how great your life is now, but not too much. Then you talk about where you came from, what your background was, and how things got so bad in your particular area of life that you're addressing. So when you do that, people that are listening to it can relate to your pain or difficulties as some version of their own. You with me here so far? Then after you've established that pain really well so people can relate to it, and you really are talking about yourself so they sympathize with you, and I'm not saying it's made up, but then you introduce the thing that changed your life, the idea, the product, the service, whatever it is you want to sell people. And the idea is, if this could happen for me, then this could happen for you. And you talk about how great your life is now, how this has been resolved, yada, yada. You know the drill, right? So when you see those very long stories on any of the social media pages where you start to watch a video and then it seems like it's going to go on for half an hour, that's what it is. It's the formula. And so what you can know at the beginning of that is, okay, there's something here to sell me on something. Am I interested in this or not? But we very often, because we're used to watching stuff like that or listening to those commercials, we watch the whole thing. And then we maybe do get sort of sucked into it because it's well done and it's kind of fascinating and they've made a really interesting connection. And we start to think about that for ourselves. So before we know it, we've been swept away into this thing. Has that ever happened to you? Anybody ever bought anything on late night TV or, you know, we get convinced, right? Because the use of the psychology has gotten so good. Now, that's not only true with products and services. It's true with political candidates. It's true with political issues. And so when we learn to be discerning about what we're hearing or what we're looking at, then we can begin to see, you know, what's the downside risk of this and who stands to benefit if I go for this? Who's actually pushing this? Who's actually suggesting this? And is it true? So we have the choice to look at everything and ask those questions. But we're so used to, particularly in the TV generation, most of us grew up in a generation that came out of radio and went into TV, where we're used to just sitting there and having stuff fed to us, kind of like we're doing right now, right? And so, of course, I'm feeding you religious science. That's my thing, right? So you all are here because you've either heard about it or you wandered in or you bought into this philosophy, this idea, and you've tried it out and it's worked for you to some degree, or you find it fascinating and you want to know more, whatever it is, right? So it's going on all the time. Children get sucked into stuff real fast because they haven't yet learned about critical thinking and discernment, so they believe what's being said to them or what they're overhearing. Greg Lavoie wrote an article in Psychology Today quite a few years ago now, and this is what he said. I read a story in the New Yorker in which the author talked about his 3-year-old daughter who had an imaginary playmate named Charlie Ravioli. Now, there's nothing unusual about a 3-year-old having an imaginary playmate, except this one was always too busy to play with her. Whenever she called Charlie Ravioli on her toy telephone, she always got his answering machine and had to leave a message. A few months later, her father discovered that she now had to leave messages with someone named Lori, who turned out to be Charlie Ravioli's assistant, someone he'd apparently hired to return phone calls for him. And Greg Lavoie says, now perhaps I'm being overly sensitive, but when our 3-year-old's imaginary playmates are too busy to play with them and start hiring agents to fend off the insistent phone calls of the children who imagined them to begin with, maybe it's time to move away from New York City or rearrange your priorities or something. Now, this story I thought was both entertaining and funny, and also such a good reflection of what we are experiencing and doing in our own lives, where we get so caught up, so hyper-focused on particular things that our lives are overburdened and overfilled with them, and we don't have time for the people around us who are right in front of us, or our plants, or our gardens, or our pets, or our friends. Can you relate to this at all? And as we begin to retire sometimes, we don't know what to do with ourselves for a while because what we have filled our time up with is not there anymore. But how many people have told you they can't imagine how they ever worked full-time because their schedules are so full now that they're retired? Have you ever heard anybody say that? So we are in the habit of overfilling. It's what we've been accustomed to doing, kind of what we've been enculturated and trained to do. And, you know, I can remember sitting and watching clouds, or there was a certain stand of trees near where I lived when I was a kid, and I used to go sit on the little berm nearby and watch how the leaves on the backside were a different color than the leaves on the front side, depending on the breeze. And I could watch them. Now, I remember that as being something that was almost, I suppose now in retrospect, it was kind of meditative, that I was so fascinated that it was like a pause where I wasn't thinking, I was just experiencing what I was seeing. And I don't do that anymore. I get antsy. I get up and do something, right? And it seems to me that when we're kids, we get called on it a lot if we're just staring into space, rather than somebody recognizing that maybe that's a really wise thing for us to do because we're actually nourishing part of ourselves in that reverie or in that observation of clouds or leaves or whatever it is that we're paying attention to. We have, as human beings, curiosity, and that's wonderful. That's how we discover things, science, how we express things in the arts. It's our curiosity, our desire to discover, to learn, to know. We really want to know. And so the good side of that is that everything we have expressed in art and everything that we've learned or remembered from history or science has come from this incredible curiosity that we have. So it really feeds us. But at the same time, there's the recognition that human beings have this desire to know, this desire to make meaning, this desire to solve problems. And so we are susceptible to new products, new ideas, new experiences, new information that might assist us to know more, to understand ourselves better or other people better, or to solve issues. You with me here so far? Now, the problem with that then is that when we get, how many of you, and I'm going to ask you to be honest about this, even though I know some of you might not choose to, and that's your choice also. How many of you have ever played a video game or a game on your phone or your iPad or your, really? No one? Okay, thank you. I wasn't going to believe that. I mean, even for those of you that refuse to acknowledge it, there's got to be more than just me that does that. So what happens is that those kinds of opportunities, and it's not just games and videos and stuff like that, but those kinds of opportunities learn to do things to hold our attention, to hold our interest, to keep us engaged until we get to the next commercial, the next ad, the next thing that wants to sell us something, because the advertisers want you to be there for what they're selling. So it's great for them if whatever the program, the game, the thing is, the video, is very engaging so that you will stay tuned to that until that commercial shows up, yeah? And then they also operate, in order to keep us engaged, they operate on those addictive qualities, those reward centers that we don't even realize our brain is responding to all the time. And as we get sucked in or pulled into that, it becomes irresistible when we're not aware of what's happening. And sometimes even if we are aware of it. But when we're aware of it, that means we have a discernment choice we can make to turn it off, to step back, to say, okay, enough of that. Raymond Charles Barker, one of the early religious science ministers, was quoted in the Science of Mind magazine from his article, The Science of Forgiveness. And he said this: your world is the result of the combined state of your thought and feeling, your area of consciousness. If your world is the result of your state of consciousness, then if you hate anyone, you are disliking a part of yourself. Now think about what programming supports us disliking someone else. What kind of programming supports us and them thinking? Well, it can be entertainment. It can be political stuff. It can be news programming that inadvertently or intentionally tries to move us to one of those directions, yeah? And what we don't realize when we do that is we are in the process of becoming more unhappy with ourselves when we do that, more discontent with our life, more frustrated by what is or isn't being done. You can relate to this, right? So Saint Abba Dorotheus, who was a monk in the 6th century, said this, because apparently they had these problems even before all of our technology. He said, over whatever you do, even if it be very urgent and demands great care, I would not have you argue or be agitated. For rest assured, everything you do, be it great or small, everything you do, be it great or small, is only 1/8 of the problem. Whereas to keep one's state undisturbed, even if thereby one should fail to accomplish the task, is the other 7/8. So to keep our state undisturbed is our major task, much more important than whatever we do. Man, that's a tough one for me. I don't know about you, but we live in a culture where doing is the thing. Producing, accomplishing, being active, contributing to society. Do any of these ring a bell? He goes on to say, so if you are busy at some task and wish to do it perfectly, try to accomplish it, which, as I said, would be 1/8 of the problem. And at the same time, to preserve your state unharmed, which constitutes 7/8. If, however, in order to accomplish your task, you would inevitably be carried away and harm yourself or another by arguing with him, you should not lose 7 for the sake of preserving 1/8. Wow, that is so deep and powerful a statement. And he wasn't trying to sell anything. He was just trying to remind us that really the task in human life is to find a way to stay balanced as everything that's going on around us and everything that needs our attention is trying to get through and maybe getting more compelling and more interesting than keeping in balance. And we might think keeping in balance is somebody who is kind of Casper milquetoast, like they don't stand up for anything, they don't stand for anything, they never make waves, they let people roll over them, but I don't think that's what it's saying. I think what it's saying is that we want to maintain balance, which also includes our sense of humor, our willingness to be open-minded and consider things, but not our willingness to get agitated, upset, and addicted to something, whatever it might be. When we get hyper-focused on anything, even good stuff, when we get hyper-focused on it, we miss important things. This fellow's very passionate. He's very passionate about what he does, and he is engaged in doing it. Meanwhile, his feet and his equipment are on fire. And pretty soon, he's going to notice that. But he hasn't quite noticed it yet. Now, I wonder about the person taking his picture. What were they thinking? But this is that situation where we miss something that might be really important because we're over-focused on something else. And in our world, everybody's bidding to get our focus and hold it, to make sure that we're over-focused on them or what they're saying or what they're wanting us to do. We all get those emails, or at least everybody on the Good Guy Squad gets all those emails that say, we really want your opinion. Would you be willing to answer just a few short questions? How many of you have seen those emails? And you know what that is? They want you to contribute to something. So they carefully lead you through a series of questions to bring you to, would you be willing to contribute a small amount if you knew it would help this terrible situation that you have already agreed with us is very upsetting? And here's your opportunity to give. So as soon as you see that, you know that no matter what it says it's for, the idea is to get you to contribute. And then we can count you as one of our supporters, whatever the issue is, whatever the person is, yeah? Right? Whatever it's about, whatever product it is. If it's a product or a service, please leave us a review. Because if you leave us a review, more people will find us. More people will try us out and spend money with us. More people will become our customers. And if you like us, we want you to tell others that you like us, because it will be even more credible than us just telling them how wonderful we are. And sometimes I want to do that, but not always. Not always. So, our founder, Ernest Holmes, said, spiritual power arises from a consciousness of our unity with the whole and an awareness of the direct responsiveness of the Spirit to us. Now, the creative law operates in such a way that what we put the majority of our attention on is what we get more of. So when we engage addictively with videos and music and news and media and whatever it is that is constantly telling us what's wrong, what we get unintentionally is more of what's wrong. So we need to use our discernment then to shift our attention. And it's not easy, because all of that is set up to be very compelling and very addictive, and we want to be well informed. We want to know what's going on. We don't want to be ignorant about challenges and problems and who's doing what, because we know that we're going to express ourselves through our voting or something else, through attending meetings, whatever we do, to respond to things that are important to us, or even if not, just to reinforce our own opinion. Somebody was saying on one of the social media sites the other day that there was a period of time where she was trying to bring information to her mother, who had a really negative opinion about a political person, a really negative opinion. And the person writing this said, even when I bring information to show her that her idea about what this person has done is not accurate, she doesn't care. It does not change her mind. And in fact, at one point, her mother says to her, I don't care whether it's true or not. I just really hate so-and-so. Now, once we get addicted at that level, and we have believed the very worst that we can about someone, we're wedded to that. Or when we believe the very best about someone and we're wedded to that, then when contradictory information shows up, it's very difficult to change our minds, because we have decided. Never mind that we could decide again, or we could reopen our mind or our thinking, which of course we can, but it is not easy to do. And so perhaps we may find that we hold beliefs and opinions that we have been trained into that we don't even realize we didn't choose those. We went with the flow kind of, and we wound up in that place. Is this making sense, what I'm saying? And it doesn't matter if it's a product or a referendum or a person, unless we know something more about it. You know, I'll say this in brief because I've said this before. When my son was a kid, he had, well, he still does, have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. But he wasn't diagnosed until he was a freshman in college, basically because I was in denial. And also, I didn't want to put him on Ritalin or something like that, because I had very negative opinions about that. Not because I had any experience with it or about it whatsoever. I really didn't. Even when my former husband tried to tell me, he was a laboratory technologist, a microbiologist. So even with the kind of medical background, would tell me Ritalin is the most well-researched drug, blah, blah, blah. I didn't care. Finally, because he has it himself also, he began to take medication. And then he said to me one day when we were having this conversation for the 400th time, he said to me, can I just share my experience with you? And I said, sure. Now, I know this man. I've known this man for 50 years. Not that long at that time. So he started telling me the difference that it made, not only in his life, in his work, but in his relationships, in his self-esteem, in his experience of life. And he didn't have to talk very long about that, because I knew what his life had been like. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. And it made a huge difference for my son. Now, I'm not pushing any kind of drug or anything. All I'm saying is I had a strong opinion with absolutely no background. I hadn't looked into the research. I hadn't known anyone who had used the medication. I really did not know enough to have such a strong opinion about it. But I knew him. And when he told me, I believed him. Sometimes it takes a big deal to change our minds about something, to allow us to see another possibility. But it's all about our choices. We still have those choices. They haven't been taken away from us, even though they might have been co-opted for a while, or we've been strongly influenced. Ernest Holmes said, now, so I need to say, I don't want to make advertisers and political issues and politicians into the bad guys. It's fair for them to try and get our attention. It's fair for them to try and sell us on their idea, their product, their service, whatever it is. They got to survive too, I understand that. So that's fair. But it's also fair for me to use my critical thinking and discernment to decide for myself rather than just be swept away. So Ernest Holmes says, humankind does not face an eternal struggle against some external force that desires our downfall. The only struggle, the only battle, the only thing that needs to be overcome is our own ignorance, our own lack of awareness and recognition of the beneficent power and creativity that is the source of all things. So everything out there has its pros and cons, and we need to make choices about those things. We need to pay attention and make decisions that are based on something other than we've heard it many, many, many times. I mean, I used to do an exercise in my workshops where I would present somebody or present the group with the beginning of an advertising slogan. Things go better with, you're in the generation, and so on, and so on, and so on. You know, in fact, I used to say, if you're old enough, you remember a little ditty that went, you'll wonder where the yellow went when you brush your teeth with. And that commercial has not been around. I don't even think that product is around for, I don't even want to tell you how long. But we remember the jingle. It stayed. Even if we never brushed our teeth with that stuff, we still know the tune, right? That's how effective that psychological advertising can be. So Ernest Holmes says, dare to... I hadn't even said the word yet, and Coco read my mind. Dare to speak and know that what you speak is the law unto the thing spoken. In other words, if you declare an affirmation with a deep sense of conviction that what you are declaring will be taken by the creative law and acted upon, when you speak in that way, he says, regardless of what conditions exist, always expect the good. Have enthusiasm, and above all, have a consciousness of love, a radiant feeling flowing through your consciousness at all times. Well, that at all times is like, that's what we aspire to. That radiant feeling flowing with love. Treat yourself until you have an inner sense of unity with all good. he says. Do your inner work so that you can discern in this ocean of stuff trying to get your attention and sell you on it, so that you can sort through and choose what you really want to believe, and based on something other than the volume of what's coming at you. As we do this, we want to come into balance with how much time we spend with all that stuff that's vying for our attention, and to choose that which also nourishes our inner balance, or our physical, emotional, spiritual, intellectual balance. What contributes to that? Well, a lot of times it's family and friends and opportunities to be together and actually do things together, or enjoy a meal, or have a conversation, or spend time with one another, or go listen to some music somewhere, or go to an art show, or to do something different than engaging with this barrage that runs 24/7. You know, it used to be there were 3 channels and they all went off at, 11 o'clock or midnight? And then overnight, all you got was a test pattern and you know? I can remember feeling sad every time that came on when I was babysitting, because I knew, okay, now there's no television to watch now until these folks get home. Do they have magazines? Did I bring a book? What can I do with myself now that the TV is done for the night? So we can get sucked into stuff, and what we want to be able to do is find a way to return to balance. Now, this person, has to be focused on her balance. I assume that what she's about to do is move her body up into a handstand on this little tiny stone in the midst of all this water. And this is a balancing place while she's getting ready to do that. If we could recognize that to come into balance takes attention and energy. It requires us to be present. You can't make a choice when you're zoned out on something because you're not really there. You're hypnotized, right? You're completely into the suspended disbelief in whatever it is that you're into. And you're not really all there in a discerning way where you could make a choice to see, am I getting out of balance with this? Do I need to come back? So every once in a while, we need to be able to do something that says, hey, are you there? Hey, come back. Hey, call your mother, call your grandson, do something interesting other than stay immersed in sitting down right here doing whatever it is that you're always doing. Now, I need this message as much as anybody because I'm maybe one of the more guilty ones of doing this kind of thing, but it gets us out of balance. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed it in other people if you haven't noticed it in yourself? Yes. Okay, yes. So what we want to be able to do in this situation is start to set some limits for ourselves. Responsible adults set limits for how much screen time their kids get. Maybe we need to set limits on our screen time or on our TV time or whatever it is that we get lost in, to the degree that we withdraw from interacting with life and nature and family and people that we love, friends, and doing fun stuff together. So we need to make some choices, to make some decisions, to use the wonderful discernment that we have to say, okay, I think maybe the alarm goes off and I think, I don't really want to stop yet, but I think I will anyway. It's kind of like I would say to my son when he was little, you don't have to like this, but you do have to do it. You can actively hate it the whole time if you want to, but you do have to do it, whether it was homework or, And maybe we need to do that for ourselves sometimes too. Say, I don't want to stop. I think I'll have a little tantrum, and then I'll stop anyway, right? So we want to be able to establish our practice of reconnecting with life. Maybe it's going for a walk every day. Maybe it's having a phone call with somebody that we're friends with just to check in. Maybe it's spending more time playing with a pet or checking to see what your plants really need other than just a little more water. Maybe they need to be repotted or fertilized, or maybe weeds need to be pulled. It's something that engages us with another phase of life to help us come back into balance. And we want to remember the truth that whatever we're watching or reading or listening to is not the whole truth. It's just a sliver that is offered to us, and we can take it or not. Or we can go do more looking into that to see if that's really true. Or if we trust somebody who does that kind of looking into things, we go find out what they think so that we have a little more information. It gives us the opportunity to move beyond that place where we get sucked into something. Does this make sense? I want to share a little story with you to close today, and this is about getting sucked into something. This actually comes from Maxwell Maltz's book, Psycho-Cybernetics. He was a plastic surgeon, but he was very observant of human nature. All the people that came to him for plastic surgery, he could see when they thought this was going to make everything okay for them. The eye lift, the nose job, whatever it was. And he knew sometimes it would, and sometimes it wouldn't, kind of based on how that person was approaching that surgery and what they thought they were aiming at. So he says, I performed a cosmetic operation on Mr. Russell's lower lip for a very modest fee, under the condition that he must tell his girlfriend that the operation had cost him his entire savings of a lifetime. His girlfriend had no objection to his spending money on her, and she insisted that she loved him, but explained she could never marry him because of his too large lower lip. However, when he told her this and proudly exhibited his new lower lip, her reaction was just as I had expected, but not as Mr. Russell had anticipated. She became hysterically angry, called him a fool for having spent all his money, and advised him in no uncertain terms that she had never loved him and never would, and that she had merely played him for a sucker as long as he had money to spend on her. However, she went further than I had counted on. In her anger and disgust, she also announced that she was placing a voodoo curse upon him. Now, both Mr. Russell and his girlfriend had been born on an island in the West Indies where voodoo was practiced. His family had been rather well-to-do. His background was one of culture, and he was a college graduate. Yet when in the heat of anger his girlfriend cursed him, he felt vaguely uncomfortable, but did not think too much about it. However, he remembered and wondered when a short time later, he felt a strange, small, hard bump on the inside of his lip. A friend who knew of the voodoo curse insisted that he see a Dr. Smith, who promptly assured him that the bump inside his mouth was the feared African bug, which would slowly eat away all his vitality and strength. Mr. Russell began to worry and look for signs of waning strength. He was not long in finding them. He lost his appetite and his ability to sleep. I learned all this from Mr. Russell when he returned to my office several weeks after I had dismissed him. My nurse did not recognize him, and no wonder. The Mr. Russell who had first called upon me had been a very impressive individual, slightly too large lip and all. He stood about 6'4", with the physique of an athlete and the bearing and manner that bespoke of an inner dignity and gave him a magnetic personality. The very pores of his skin seemed to exude vitality. The Mr. Russell who now sat across the desk from me had aged at least 20 years. Remember, he said this was a few weeks later. His hands shook with the tremor of age. His eyes and cheeks were sunken. He had lost perhaps 30 pounds. The changes in his appearance were all characteristic of the process which medical science, for want of a better term, calls aging. After a quick examination of his mouth, I assured Mr. Russell that I could get rid of the African bug in less than 30 minutes, which I did. The bump which had caused all the trouble was merely a small bit of scar tissue from his operation. I removed it, held it in my hand, and showed it to him. The important thing is, and this I want you to hear above everything else, the important thing is he saw the truth and believed it. He gave a sigh of relief, and it seemed as if there was an almost immediate change in his posture and expression. Several weeks later, I received a nice letter from Mr. Russell together with a photograph of him and his new bride. He had gone back to his home and married his childhood sweetheart. The man in the picture was the first Mr. Russell. Mr. Russell had grown young again overnight. A false belief had aged him 20 years. The truth had not only set him free of fear and restored his confidence, but it actually reversed the aging process. If you could have seen Mr. Russell as I did, both before and after, you would never again entertain any doubts about the power of belief, or that an idea accepted as true from any source can be every bit as powerful as hypnosis. We have a choice. So what does it mean to be well informed? Is it either or, ignore everything, or get lost in it? I think there has to be a balance in order for us to live a thriving, healthy life. And that balance depends upon us making some decisions, making some choices, honoring the gift that we've been given in the ability to choose what we will think, what we will believe, and how we discern what is true and what we believe. Take that with you this week and look at some of the things that you accept without question. Consider how you know that. And if it's time to have an open mind about that particular thing, and take another look. It couldn't hurt. Namaste. Let's anchor this in prayer, all right? Let's take a breath together as we turn within and close the outer eyes. It's easier for us to discern our oneness with everything around us and everyone around us, to tune in to the infinite truth that we are immersed in a divine presence, which is not only everywhere around us, but is also flowing through us right now. We not only observe it, but we also are what's doing the observing. That infinite mind is everywhere, including in us, and we're using it right now to follow these words, to think these thoughts. This inner mind, the mind of the divine that we are using, is a mind that knows everything we need to know as we open to it, as we allow our awareness and discernment. So I speak this word right now for every one of us, knowing that there are no exceptions in the divine presence, in the creative law. It is fully given, absolutely, completely, 100% available to us at every moment. As we change our minds, our lives in the outer world begin to show up differently. We are attracting different results to ourselves. So I speak for us right now that there is a softening, there is a willingness, there is a curiosity, there is an openness to discovery moving through us, especially moving into those areas of our most strongly held beliefs and opinions, and softening the edges just enough to allow us to consider all that is available to cement or release that particular belief. So we call to ourselves the highest and best, the most life fulfilling, the most spiritually rewarding, the most fulfilling connections and relationships and love that we have ever experienced through everything and everyone that we encounter, whether we choose to agree or not. Love flows through all of it, and we bring our focus to that slice that is love, to that tidbit that is the heart of it all, the 7/8. And as we do this, our hearts blossom, our breath deepens, our lives become easier and more rewarding, and we are grateful for our discernment, for our blessings, for our challenges, and the openness that we bring to them to allow us to move forward in confidence, in peace of mind, and in joy. We let this prayer go into the creative law, knowing that it knows exactly what to do. We let it go and we allow new ideas, new information, new support to flow into our lives and lift us up into a greater balance than we have experienced in a long time. We are so grateful for this that we simply let it go and let it be so now. Take a breath, and together we say, and so it is. Yes. Please stand and join me for the morning affirmation. As we say together, abundant evidence that I am loved is all around me. I choose to give this evidence more attention and appreciation. The more I notice my good, the more of it there is to notice. And so it is. You may be seated, and would the ushers please come forward as we prepare to receive this morning's sacred offering. For those of you online with us, if you'd like to make a donation, we'd be thrilled. And you can do that by texting the dollar amount you choose to give to the number on the screen and then just follow the directions. That can be done by those of you here as well. And for all the gifts being given today and everything Golden Gate has received in this past week in the way of prayer, financial donations, or service, we're blessing all of that and ourselves because we too are part of the gift. So we do that by saying this offering blessing together right now. I'm going to invite you to put your hands, take your gift, hold it over your heart, you too at home, and say this out loud with us. This gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time. And so it is. Yes, go ahead.
So I just want to say that thank you so much. And when I get called into play here, I usually hear what Reverend Mary's going to say, or a little something about it, and I choose songs that I think might match. And I want to say the blurb that I got this time. I didn't quite understand what the message would be. And as I was sitting there in my chair, I was like, oh, this song would have fit better. This song would have fit. Oh, that song would have fit better. Oh, this song would have fit better. Oh, that. I have so many songs about choosing a life, an extraordinary life, choosing a life of power, including one that's on a card over there called Extraordinary Life. So if you want to hear that song, it's over there. And it's basically about exactly what you said. And these songs are just here to help you manifest what it is you're trying to operate with spiritually. So I'm really grateful to be here as usual. Okay, and this song
which reflects less of my understanding of the topic than I have now, is still here, sung by your ancestors and spirit to call you into being with it. We've been waiting for you, my dear. We've been standing here, anticipating when you would draw near, to pray for your helpers, to whisper in your ear. Listen, listen, and you will hear the truth. All that you want is already in view. Pay attention and tune into all the signs and directions that are calling to you. There's a moment when the signs line up and you awaken, and you can't imagine it any other way than your dreams taking shape each and every day. Listen, listen, and you will hear the truth. All of the stars are singing to you. Pay attention and tune into all the love and perfection that are pulling you through. How many years have you waited? And how many ways have you hated this life? And how much time have you wasted thinking nothing is coming your way? It is time for you to notice that we are here and we're going to hell. When you listen to your knowing, you'll arrive at what there is to say. You'll arrive today. Listen, listen, and you will hear the truth. All that you want is waiting for you. Pay attention and tune into all the signs and directions that are calling to you. All the love and perfection that is calling to you. All the joys and the wonders that are calling to you.
That was perfect. I love how Spirit does that. I thought that was perfect. Yeah. So now, on behalf of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, all of us here accept this offering and we send it out into the world for more discernment and choosing. And so it is. All right, if you're with us for the first time today, this table back here is our welcome table. It has all kinds of handouts on it. Please feel free to go back and pick up anything you'd like to take with you from that table back there, except the whole Kleenex box. Just take a few. But do get a welcome packet. They're the white envelopes that say welcome. Take out the blue card inside, fill it out. Give it to Amanda. She's going to give you a little book called Nourishing Thoughts. She's back there waving them up in the air. And that is our gift and our thank you for being here with us today. We hope that you'll use that when you feel like you need a little uplift in your thinking. And that's also an invitation to come back and be with us in the future. So we hope you'll do that as well. Also, I want to say thank you to everybody who made this so lovely today, this beautiful altar that Leslie put together for us today. Leslie is kind of the jack of all trades today, and I thought she was on the practitioner table too, but it's Deborah over there who's on the practitioner table. So please remember that we do have a prayer table. I'll say more about that in just a minute. And let's also thank Amy for being here with us today as well. Now, next Sunday is our summer picnic on the patio. And what I notice is that if you were planning to actually eat something other than salad, you might be out of luck. Because in looking at the sign-up sheets back there, I see one person bringing hamburgers and one person bringing hot dogs. Probably that's not going to feed all of us. We have about 5 salads. So that's not going to feed all of us either. So if you have not signed up for what you're going to bring to the picnic, please spare Paula, you, and me having panic attacks this week, because we want to make sure there's enough food for everybody. Please tell us what you're going to bring, and if you can help with the setup, which is setting up, the tables, getting the food out there, getting the barbecue grill going, whatever, or with cleanup afterwards, because we got to bring things in, put tables away, wash dishes, all that sort of stuff. Please sign up and let us know that. Otherwise, we're going to send you out to buy food when you come next week. Or we're going to press you into service cleaning up whether you volunteered or not, because we need to do it, okay? So that's just to let you know. Those sign-ups are back on the activity table after the service. Please go sign up so we know that food is coming and people are helping. That would be really good. And back to prayer. Our prayer table has a prayer request box. You can always put a request in the box on Sunday, and that will go into prayer for the whole week. But also, you can actually get a prayer from a prayer practitioner after the service. Please go to the prayer table and just wait there for the practitioner on duty. If they're not there when you get there, they'll be right back. And they will do a private prayer with you so that you'll be all tuned up. So now, would the practitioners please surround the room? Having said that, we're going to do a closing prayer. And this, yes, Coco, for you too, honey. This is for all of us of every species in this room, so that we may experience a greater degree of freedom in our choices and wholeness. So this is going to be a chamber of prayer. We're all going to pray at the same time. Just allow it to wash over you, whether you can discern any words or not, okay? So and so it is. Please stand and join us for the closing blessing and song. You can take hands with one another if you feel so inclined, but it is not required. And we do this blessing in unison. I now walk so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God, and whoever places a hand in mine is lifted, and whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness, for spirit and all people and I are one eternally, and so it is. We sang this with Amy last time she was here, but we may have to learn it again.
It's pretty easy. It goes, peace be with you, and joy may it find you too, and love may it bring you back to yourself, to yourself. Peace be with you, and joy may it find you too, and love may it bring you back to yourself, to yourself. Peace be with you, and joy may it find you too, and love may it bring you back to yourself, to yourself. Last time, here we go. Peace be with you, and joy may it find you too, and love may it bring you back to yourself, to yourself. Thank you, everybody.